What is up, fishing fanatics? Jeff Rogers back with you on Fat Bass Fishing. I don't have DV behind the camera. I have my grandson Maddox with me. There you go. And anyway, this is going to be a video about the strangest bass fishing trip I've ever gone on. The strangest 3 days I've ever had, and how those events led up to how it might have saved my life or somebody else's life. It's crazy how everything worked out. So I head out to Texas on a holiday weekend. I get out there and I stay in Monroe, Louisiana the first night. And I get up early the next morning. I'm so excited to get out to Texas, and I get out there and I'm passing the Texas line. I get up real early the next morning and I head out from Monroe. I cross the Texas line and I'm thinking, well, I need to get some gas. I look around, no wallet. I had left my wallet in Monroe, Louisiana at the motel. Now, out of all the years that I have done music and bass fishing, I've only left one thing ever, and that was a phone charger years ago. So I had to turn around and go back 140 miles to Monroe, grab my wallet, head back towards Texas, and right before I get to the Texas line, the bottom falls out. It starts raining like crazy raining where you can barely see the road. And I literally, matter of fact, I'm gonna show you a video right here somewhere, or right here, of me crossing the Texas line and how hard it was raining. Well, I get about 15 miles past the Texas line and the interstate is completely shut down. Completely shut down. The interstate's closed. Well, turns out there was a fatality on the interstate, and I got to thinking, well, if I would have kept driving that morning, that fatality could have been me. So anyway, they detoured us off the interstate, and it wasn't just a regular old 4 or 5 mile detour. This was like a 25 or 30 mile detour back to the interstate. I get heading down the road, and all of a sudden I've got a tail light that goes out on my trailer, my boat trailer. And on an old truck, that's no big deal. But on a new truck, it's going ding, 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 ding about every 10 minutes. Drove me crazy. I listened to that noise for 280 something miles. Anyway, I was supposed to get to Austin, Texas about 3 o'clock that afternoon. I got there at 10:45 that night. So I get with my son. We get a game plan together, and we head out to Lake Austin the next morning. And we get out to Lake Austin and we unload the boat. I go to start the boat, nothing. Would not start at all. Brand new motor, redone boat completely, and it was all my fault. I mean, I had hooked up a little 12-volt lighter like thing to charge my phone and my cameras for the boat, and it would not start. So Cody and I called a buddy of mine, Eric, which I gotta hand it to him, with DRC Marine and Repair. He stayed on the phone with us quite a while, and he said, man, without being out there and able to look at it, I don't know. So we went back to Cody's house, and I decided that I would call every Suzuki dealership in that area, and then Cody would call every mobile mechanic. Well, since it was a holiday weekend, nobody, not one place was open. There was only one mobile mechanic that was even working, and he he was so busy, there was no way he could make it out to us. So my son got to thinking, he said, well, what we can do, Daddy, is I know a guy that owns a kayak store here in Austin. He'll know where we can do electric only, and we can just use your trolling motor. So we went out to a lake the next morning. There's a security guard there at a guard shack, and he says, guys, I hate to tell you this, but you're not going to be able to launch your boat. And we were both looking at each other like, why? And he said, well, there's a car that's sunk in the water at the bottom of the boat ramp. Sunk in the water at the bottom of the boat ramp. And so Cody says, you mean a truck with a boat trailer? And they said, no, a car, man. And he said, oh, you mean like a SUV that's hauling a kayak or something? No, man, it's a car. I don't know what to tell you. It's a car. So I said, let me go down here. Can I at least turn around? So he said, sure, yeah, go down and turn around. I'd look over at Cody and I said, I have got to see this. Well, this right here is an actual picture of the car that was at the end of the boat ramp. And notice that it's in there forward. Somebody literally drove into the water. Yeah, drove into the water. So Cody and I are trying to figure out how that could have happened, and we figured that it must have been alcohol or drug related somehow. There's no way that would have happened on a normal basis. So we decided to go to the other lake that his buddy had told him about. We go there, and there is a boat ramp, but no boat dock to hold on to after we after we got the boat in the water. I told Cody, I said, there's no way we can do this without a big motor. You know, I mean, first of all, the wind was blowing, so there was a pretty good current there in the water. And I said, well, we could launch it, but we'd never get that boat back onto the trailer. So we try to come up with a plan, and we sit there for a minute, and we decide to go to Lake Austin. Hang with me, I'm gonna give you a drawn illustration of just how this happened. I'll be back shortly. So I said I was gonna make you a little diagram of what happened next. We decided to go back to Lake Austin, and it was crazy, the turn of events that happened next. And I said I was gonna make you a little diagram. Well, here's a terrible little diagram, okay? So you go, there's a guard shack right here, and you pull in next to the guard shack, and there's a little staging area right there. Well, that's where Cody and I were sitting. And then you can pull in, pull up, and you're waiting on a spot to go down. And there was a guy here that was launching his boat. And this is not funny. I don't know why I'm laughing, but the turn of events was so strange. When this guy launched his boat, I'm sitting in the truck over here, probably, 200 or 300 feet away from this guy. These guys are maybe 50 feet from him. And I see him walk down the boat dock, step into his boat, and the next thing that I see is his feet going up in the air. And I sit there, I went, did he just fall in? And I'm sitting there and I'm looking. Well, then I see his boat, because Lake Austin is part of a river chain as well. So there's a pretty good flow of water here. And his boat starts floating out. And when it starts floating out, I could see more clearly that he was reaching up, trying to get in his boat, fighting for his life. The current was pulling him under, and he had gone under about twice, and his boat was floating out. Well, I look over here. I'm looking over here, and I'm looking over here. I'm thinking, man, these guys, what are y'all doing? And they're standing at the back of their boat looking at this guy drowned. It's sad, but it's true. They were just sitting there looking with their arms crossed. And so I jump out of my truck and I start running down to the dock. Now, Cody is sitting in the boat waiting for us to be able to launch. So he's sitting in the boat. He didn't see anything that was going on. All he saw was me opening the door and running down here as fast as I possibly could. Well, the current was bringing this guy down this way. And I knew if he got past this last dock, he was going to drown. No doubt about it. And his boat was floating out and coming down this way. And I run down to this very first dock as his boat is floating by. And I grab the front of his boat. Now you got to understand, after this, there's nothing but lake and river for miles until you get into the city of Austin. And his boat was floating down. I ran to this last dock here and got out on the end of that dock. And when his boat was floating by, I said, man, quit fighting, just hang on to your motor. I got you, man, I got you. And I grabbed the very tip of his boat and was hanging on for absolute dear life, pulling with everything I had. I was already going through my mind, if I have to let this boat go, I'm gonna have to jump in after this guy. And about that time, my son, who had the wherewithal to realize something was up, because I didn't walk down there, I ran down to that dock. And my son was there, and I said, son, grab right here where I'm at, where I can get a better grip. And he grabs the front, and I grab the side, and we are able to get the nose of his boat right here. And then both of us pulling together was able to pull his boat into this last little dock right here. And that guy, I said, man, you need me to call 911, because he had already gone under about 3 or 4 times. And I said, you need me to call 911? No, man, I'm just glad you guys were here. I don't know what I would have done. So I looked over at Cody. I said, but I don't know what, man, I don't know what these guys, those guys that were 50 feet away, I don't know what they were thinking. They just gonna let this guy drown. So we get back to the truck, and I'm running through all this in my brain. Everything that happened on the way out there, everything that happened that morning, and all of that could have been to save that guy's life. Is that not crazy how all that works out? Anyway, so we finally get the boat launched, and we're considering everything that happened. And Cody was, man, this is just crazy, the turn of events. Well, we're heading up Lake Austin. I said, we need to just go to the nearest channel, we can fish channels all day. Well, the wind was just barely blowing at the time, a little soft breeze, no problem. My trolling mower was doing great. By the time we get 150 feet or so away from the dock, man, that wind kicks up to about 40 miles an hour. I mean, it was literally blowing my boat back some as we were going forward. Now, keep in mind, all we've got is a trolling motor. And there was a channel, we had already checked to see where the channel was. There was a channel about a quarter of a mile away, or half a mile away. It took us almost 3 hours to get to that channel. We pull in that channel, and I was so happy. I thought, man, finally out of this wind, finally won't have to fight this trolling motor. So that's when I set up the camera. Now, some of you have seen the video footage of fishing for a phone. If you want to see the short version of this, that is what phone fishing, I think is what the name of it was. You can go back and see the short version of this. I just wanted to tell you the whole story because I set up the camera, the phone, just something simple where we can get a little bit of footage. And the phone, there's no wind in this channel at all. And then as we're getting to the end of the channel, this big, huge gust of wind comes, blows my phone stand over, and the phone goes in the water. And I was able to video all of that from the bottom of the lake and us finding the phone. Anyway, that's the craziest 3 days. It was so bad that there's a huge rock at the end of Lake Austin, and you look over the city of Austin. And I told Cody, I said, man, I'd like to go up top of that rock sometime. He said, Daddy, with everything that's happened so far, man, Jeffrey Dahmer be come back to life, be standing at the top of that rock. He'd eat us both and then throw us into the river. You know, that's the kind of luck that I had for 3 days. Man, we really did have a great time. Anytime with my sons, they are a blast and I'm a blast, and we just have a great time. Make the best of bad situations. Anyway, if you have had a situation like this, I want to hear about it in the comments. Any kind of crazy things that have happened. I know some of you fishing fanatics out there have some great fish stories. I want to hear them in the comments. Put them in there. Watch this last part of this video and you'll see how this trip ended with my phone going in the water and us finding the phone. Now, I know that video only lasts about 5 minutes or so, but it was literally under the water for 31 minutes, I think, total. And it still worked at the end. That's crazy. But I want to hear your stories. If you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe. I appreciate all of you. I love you. Jeff Rogers. We'll see you soon.
It is on camera work. We have a fishing story. And it's on. It was recording the whole time. Oh shit! What?
No!
It was recording the whole time.
Oh my God! We're gonna have film footage of the phone in the water.
And it was face up. I bet you could see us floating over it.
But for me, it's riding motorcycles in the Alabama mountains, or fishing with my boys